instead of cameraman?
Better.
Better?
Is
Okay,
this-
so is it okay for you to move it around when people are talking? Then you can,
Okay.
let's say somebody is talking, then you can move around that person.
But I cannot record the face because we are in.
That's okay.
Okay.
Just you know, just in that direction, you know. Okay, guys, I think we are ready to start. I hope that the groups that are contributing today remember the questions that we are going to discuss. You can ask. I will give you the mic and you can ask any.
要环保。
Hi again. I can see you. I see the ceiling. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. Hi.
Okay, well, let's start. Can we start?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening to you, and good morning to us. We are live from Chi-Nan, National Chi-Nan University in Puli, Taiwan. Our class is called Business Communication for Hospitality and Tourism Management. So in this course we're trying to cover a variety of topics, but one of the most important topics is science, technology, and the internet, because this is what is benefiting the tourism and the hospitality management as much as any other field that's out there that's making human life better and improving it in many different ways, such as medicine and transportation and infrastructure and so forth. So I will let the students to interact with you, and I hope we can go back and forth by asking questions and sharing opinions, and hopefully we can all learn from each other, from each other's opinions, and from each other's points of view, and especially from Eddie's. And thank you again, Eddie, for joining us.
My
And,
pleasure. Always.
and let's get started. Okay, so the contributing group. Can you start with the first item that we are going to talk about? Who's contributing today? Raise your hand. Okay. Go ahead. Okay, actually, just a second. I want to start by asking you something very maybe a little bit. I don't know how you would feel about this question, but I think it's very important for us to know. And who did I ask to ask Eddie? Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, I almost forgot. Okay, go ahead.
How did the science and technology and internet change your life? Yes.
Eddie, can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, so what our young lady here is asking you is that because you are older and more experienced than us, throughout the stages of your life, how have you seen the changes of science, technology, and the internet take over the world? So we want to know how has them been a factor or impacted in your life in so many different ways?
Here's, let me tell you something. I'm really surprised to see how fast the human nature is. almost everybody caught up with the internet revolution and with the social media revolution, which is a different thing. I mean, internet is one thing, social media is another thing. Basically, the way the internet impacted my life was through affordable information. Previously, when I was a student, if you wanted to write a paper, you had to go to the library. And to make an application for a certain book you wanted to quote in your dissertation, and you had to wait until you get that book, and then of course you took notes out of it, and you had a lot of, I used to have a lot of paperwork, you know, with all kinds of notes from books and everything, so it was so slow. Now you can get all this information so quick. You couldn't imagine, you know? You don't even need to leave home. And you can copy and paste the quotes and so on. So this is one tremendous advantage that internet brought. On the other hand, what I notice is basically, because internet makes the information so easy to manage, there is a temptation to become more like ADD. You know what I mean, basically, you know? So your attention span becomes shorter and shorter. You switch from one topic to another very, very quick. Previously, you couldn't switch from one topic to another.
Okay,
so
Eddie.
Yeah.
The students said they have no idea what ADD is. Can you tell us what is ADD?
Deficit disorder. Okay. Everybody has it. That was the problem. The problem is that previously you were bound to a book and you had to stay with the topic. Now you can navigate very easily and very quick from one topic to another. And that makes your mind be more prone to have shorter attention span. Now this is very important because when you communicate, you have to communicate in a new way. You asked me how it impacted my activity. One very important aspect was that like 30 years ago, if you wanted to convey a message, you could take your time and use long sentences and write 1 or 2 pages, you know, or speak for half an hour and people will listen. Now you have to be very brief. Take for instance Twitter, yeah? Twitter is a very effective environment of communication, and basically we know that Trump won the presidency 60–70% because of Twitter. And so, but on Twitter you have to be very brief and hit the point immediately, you know? You don't have a second chance. This basically changed the structure of communication in our work, and everything from advertising to arguing, making a case. Of course, you want to do a dissertation in school, it's a different story. But when you go out there, you have to communicate in a way that was changed by the internet. And by the way, the internet changed the English spelling, because when we text or when we write a message on internet, we spell differently. We no longer, we kind of bend the rules, you know? And I don't know if this happens also in other languages, like, but definitely the English language was changed by the internet. And on the other hand, the English language became the prevailing language. Definitely it was the lingua franca before the internet, but also French. But now the English language is becoming more and more important. But it is not academic English. It's a new kind of language. And definitely there are all kinds of neologisms. Take for instance Korean, yeah, Korean. I mean, the Americans say kek. K-E-K, for laughing, for instance, you know, and this comes from Korean and so on. So there is a lot of change, but if you allow me, I'd like to say something different. I believe we shouldn't keep looking at internet, because internet is already history. We should look forward to the new frontier. And the new frontier is it has to do with the internet, but in a very different way. Basically, the new frontier the most important scientific breakthrough right now that will impact our future life in a way that basically makes internet look very conservative. I mean, in the future, we are going to go through such tremendous change. And when I say in the future, I mean probably 10 years from now. That internet will look like very conservative. And this change comes from a very important frontier in science, which is right now taking off. Most of the people do not notice it. It comes from brain science, you know? And what is this all about? So in the future, you'll connect your brain with the internet. And this is probably going to happen in 20 years from now, probably earlier. So and when I say you connect your brain with the internet, I don't mean you are going to move the mouse with your brain or to type with your brain, because this is already possible. I mean that you are going to think with the internet, you know, and you are going to think with a computer. So the computer will has your brain and the internet will has your brain. Why? Because right now there are two projects going on. One is the Blue Brain project, which is a very ambitious project. And the blue brain, the word blue comes from the color, the IBM color used to be blue, you know. So Blue Brain project means basically IBM Brain project. And what is this all about? We all know today that every thought, every emotion, every decision we make, every inhibition, every excitement basically goes down to some digital signals that the neurons exchange in the brain. And there are networks of neurons, there are patterns, and right now they work at the Blue Brain project in Europe. And there is also another project I think you didn't hear about it, is the Obama Brain project. It was a project that was initiated by President Obama, and I believe it's more important than the Apollo program in science. So Obama has provided a huge amount of money, I don't remember exactly the number, for decoding the brain. What means decoding? So you are going to know for every thought, for every emotion, for every decision you make, what is the code in the brain? I mean, what networks are being activated, what patterns of signals are being changed, you know, what neurons fire, what neurons stay in a state of rest, for instance. So all this is possible. Basically, now we are trying to decode parts of the brain. Parts have been very successful, small parts of the brain. But the research will advance forward. And basically, when I think that the Obama project has many, like internet used to be a military project, you know, DARPA project, you know. Probably there are a lot of military and intelligence implications. That's why I don't know hear too much about it. But it's going to be popular, and it's going to be used in business and everyday life, like every other discovery. So as soon as you can have parts of the brain modeled in a computer, in a digital fashion, you have them. You can use them to communicate with the brain. Two ways. One way is that the brain can send messages to, for instance, synthetic arms or legs or whatever you want, you know, to move a synthetic arm, an orthopedic arm or orthopedic leg, and so on. This already experimentally has been done in laboratory. Like you want to pick up something, but you use an orthopedic arm, and the arm is following the orders in your brain, because we decoded the signal in the brain and we decode it in the orthopedic arm. So there is a communication between the brain and that arm. Now you can have this communication through internet through internet all around the world. So you think something, and that thing, if you communicate the code through internet, is going to happen. Like, for instance, you remember the movie Avatar, you know? They had bodies, they have synthetic bodies, they control their brain, like being that body, you know? This is something that is not impossible to think theoretically today. But on the other hand, you have a very different thing, and which is a matter of concern, but also probably something to be used in business and hospitality. I'm going to speak about hospitality, especially so. Basically, you can influence decision people make through influencing their brain. So you have the code. That basically the code of a certain decision. And if you have that code, you can communicate it to the brain in a certain way. And you control that person's free will, which is sinister, of course. You know, it's dystopian, and hopefully that will never happen. But basically what I like to say is that people are going to use more means to get into your brain. For instance, they can give you a certain emotion, a certain excitement. You want to have a certain thrill, a certain emotion, a certain joy, and you can connect to your brain to the internet, and somebody can send you through internet that brain pattern activity that gives you a certain emotion or thrill or something, you want to express something. But on the other hand, can put some cookies into your brain, you know, like it puts into your computer, and so it can control your options in the future to buy from that person, and so on. Now, talking about hospitality, probably in the future, the most prosperous tourist industry is not going to be like you fly to Hawaii or to South America or to China or whatever. Probably the most prosperous tourism industry will be that you are going to go into some virtual reality. Because if the brain is decoded, and this is going to happen, this is for certain is going to happen, if the brain is decoded, then the round between virtual reality is going to blur. So if you remember the movie Matrix, it would be something like that, you know. For at least certain experiences, you can make the brain feel like it would be a real life experience, you know. And so people, it's going to be a kind of drug, you know. And people will make such trips. You provide them with a certain trip, like in a virtual world where they live their fantasies, their utopias, and this is going to be more sophisticated, and it's going to be definitely a good business. Also, it's going to be a rock, new kind of escapism here, but also a lot of political implications, definitely. People will experiment, like Dan, who is a specialist in biotechnics, for instance. He simulates on computer a certain organism, a rat, for instance, a guinea pig, and then experiments in digital environment before experimenting in real life. So people are going to experiment in a digital environment, like it were real.
Okay.
Because their brain is going to receive the signals
right.
like it was real. So, I mean, these are certain breakthroughs in the future that will change the world very radically.
Okay, so let's see who wants to comment on this. Thank you for the very nice and detailed introduction of how you have seen some changes and how they have in some ways influenced and affected your life experience. Almost everybody here grew up with the internet and with technology and with good science. So I think it's kind of difficult for most of us here to see the transition that you have seen. But I think we can try to, maybe in the future, the science and technology might be able to do a simulation for us so we can understand the transition like we actually lived it. I'm sure that might happen. But we have some students here that are going to contribute and to interact with you, so I want to ask if they have any opinion or anything they want to say to... so did you guys get the point of what Eddie was trying to say in regards to how the internet is going to affect our life, especially in the future, like virtual reality and all that? I don't know if you guys got the point, but anyway, why don't we talk about some of the other things that we're supposed to cover today? So, can any of you bring up the next topic, or if you have a comment for Eddie, you can do that as well. Go ahead. Please use the mic so we can hear you.
In our group, we think, like he said, a paper. They need to go to the library, and now we have the e-book. So you can use the e-book to see what do you want to see. And the other one is we can able to pay the bills and the bank online. Now we don't need to go to the bank to pay something money or others fees. You just use your internet and you can pay anything, or like buy something in the internet. Yeah, or we can check the weather. Now, sometimes it's rain or not, and you just use your internet to check your weather is good or not. And or now, for students, I think we can get a homework help. You just Google something you want to know, and internet will show you anything and everything. But I think the important thing is Google will tell you many things, but you should to know what do you want and what is true is the better thing. Yes, that's
right.
Oh.
That's right. So, like our student said, you can find anything on Google, but you have to be realistic in terms of the information you find. You find a lot of junk. You find a lot of conspiracy stuff. And you also find the truth, obviously. But I think you have to make sound decisions on what is reality and what is unrealistic and so on and so forth. So can we please go to the next topic? Can one of you guys ask Eddie the next?
I'd like to comment something if you allow
Sure.
me.
Yeah, of course.
Please. There is a lot of talk today about the internet bubbles. And you know from experience, yeah? Because when you are searching for something on Google, the Google puts you in a bubble, So Google has its own research about you, about your preferences, and knows what kind of information to feed on you. And we also have that concept of echo chamber in our time, especially in social media. So basically, through internet, we are becoming more and more disinformed. Basically, we have this kind of alternative facts. You no longer know what is true, because you have alternative facts. So this is a problem. This is a problem. And as you said, you have to be smart. You have to be smart. You have to navigate the deep web. You have to know how to use certain instruments in order to use the internet, not to be used by the internet. Because basically, when you want to get an information, you are being fed that information that somebody else wants you to be fed on, I mean, is not only in politics, but also in business. They want you to buy certain goods, they want you to think certain thoughts, they want you to have some political options, and whenever they influence. So, I mean, this is a problem, but let me go back to what I said. This is nothing besides what is going to be in the future. When we are going to have an interface between our brain, internet, and our brain and our computer. So we're going to have computer-brain internet interface, because this is the next step in technology, and which is just incipient. Now, this is going to be even more dangerous because you are going to think something that some people want you to think, you know, or to even to control your options, to block certain options. And so I think that we have to always to be ones to movements ahead in this chess match, you know. Always to know this technology and use it, because it's going to be a kind of jungle, you know, a kind of Darwinian survival of the fittest. I mean, who the person that is the best in accessing information, real information on the internet, is going to win the match, and those who are just being fed information and manipulated on the losing side. So this is, I think, internet is a challenge and an opportunity, but the challenge is going to increase in the future with new technologies.
Okay, thank you, Eddie. So can we move on to the next item? Go ahead. What is the next thing that I listed? Go ahead. So, you know, on our post, I listed a few things. So can you just talk about one of them, or ask Eddie to comment on one of them, or to talk about one of them?
Imagine we are living in ancient time without any science, technology, and internet. We can contact others immediately. And for example, we can only contact people who are far, far away with letters. But both sending and receiving letters cost a long time. And people living in the modern time can't go back to the time without this degree. And we are very dependent on the creation of them. But on the other side, people might get closer to each other, no matter text message from phones or computers. We can only have conversations face to face without any disruptions. So it may have a good influence on people's relationship. It will cause more inconvenience than those good effects. And we are now living in a world that is full of products made of science and technologies. So we can barely imagine living in a world without them.
Okay, very good. Eddie, one other thing we want to talk about in regards to the internet is you once referred to the internet as being the new religion. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we thought about it, and in a sense, it is kind of like a new religion, because you say just about any prayer and you get your answer, more or less. Okay. I mean, you search something, you know, and I'm not saying this in a bad or derogatory way. I'm saying if you want to find some health-related information, let's say you have some kind of a pain, and you Google how to treat this pain quickly and effectively at home, even with some natural means, you will find your answer very quick. You know, just like Jesus said, ask and it shall be given to you. That's exactly what the internet does. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? How is the internet the new religion?
You know, should keep in mind that the main purpose of religion in the history of mankind was to bring people together, you know, to solidify relationships within a tribe. And so with the internet, there is a new tribalization. We have a lot of digital tribes. Yes, as you said, as the student said, internet is bringing people close together. We communicate across the planet. But on the other hand, there is a lot of tribalization on internet. And almost everybody lives in a certain echo chamber, because people prefer one religion over another, you know. religions are like absolute. You know, I mean, the problem with religion is that when you are part of one religion, you believe you have the absolute truth and the other is wrong. You know, you do not negotiate this. I mean, whenever you argue to prove that you are right. You do not listen. So there is a certain phenomenon on media, in social media, that is similar to religion, namely that people organize or coalesce in digital tribes, and they meet in certain chamber rooms where they reinforce each other's faith, beliefs, and values. And on the other hand, although we come close to each other, the hate and the suspicion toward the another tribe is always greater. The difference is that we used to be separated in tribes based on ethnicity and skin color or whatever. Now we are being can be people of different ethnicities within the same tribe, but we are separated in digital tribes. In this respect, I believe that the internet has the good side of religion, but also the bad side, you know, the dark side of religion.
Absolutely, just like any religion. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you have to accept we have gaps. The gaps that the internet or the social media has created among people are very, very huge, you know, and you need to bridge it.
Okay, can we move on to the next item? So, anybody else? It can be anybody from the class. Doesn't only have to be the contributors. If you have something you want to comment, or if you want to talk about or ask the next question. So what is one of the other things on the list that we are talking about? Hello? Okay, please. Thank you.
What are some interesting things that science and technology will help us do to some animals in the near future?
Oh, excellent question. Eddie, we are bringing up a new point, or a new idea about science and technology. And one thing that we want to talk about is, I'm sure you heard about it. It's called de-extinction. You know, like trying to bring some extinct animals back. It's called de-extinction. Can you give us your opinion about de-extinction and the possibility of bringing back some extinct animals and how that will affect life on Earth in the future?
You know, I mean, right now we are killing a lot of species, you know, and definitely we are killing more species than we'll ever bring back to life.
Right. So it wouldn't hurt to bring back some of them, right?
Yeah. But I mean, we have the responsibility to bring back to life the species we killed, you know, because there are some species that evolution killed. You know, have no responsibility, and I agree with Michael Crichton in Jurassic Park. For instance, you shouldn't bring back dinosaurs, even if you could, you know. I mean, evolution has decided the matter in this respect. But definitely, a lot of animals were extincted by humans, like the woolly mammoth, the mastodons, the big mammals were hunted to death by our ancestors before the agricultural revolution. And these are not fossils are not that old, so that we couldn't get their DNA. And so we can definitely bring back to life the mammoth, the woolly mammoth, and some other cat, some other animals. And definitely we have a responsibility to bring back to life the species we kill, because we can do it. Genetically, we can do it. The species we are killing right now, like the sun tiger, can go extinct in the near future. The whale are endangered and so on. So I think we can and we should bring them back alive. But on the other hand, before we do this, we have to change our environment to make it more eco-friendly. And probably this will happen in the near future, when we get sick and tired of fossil fuels, and we understand that we should use green energy, and we find that, I think we are going to find a technological way to beat global warming, and probably with some bacteria that eat carbon or something like that. But I think we are going to succeed in this respect. We'll probably stop the, we are going to get extinct as a species ourselves if we do not stop this population, this demographic boom.
Right.
Which is irresponsible, you know. I mean, we cannot be that many on this planet, and so we have to control birds. This is a necessity. It's a must, and definitely then make place on this planet to some other species, because right now all the other species are in retreat because we are basic. I mean, and we are cutting the woods and polluting the oceans and so on. I mean, definitely. Technology gives us a chance here, but there is a lot of politics involved, you know, and interests and so on. It's gonna be with the hunters, you know.
Okay, so should we take a break or should we continue? If we continue, we'll finish on time. If we take a break, we might have to stay a little bit later. So should we just continue? Yeah, let's just continue then, so that Eddie can go to sleep soon. Okay. Anybody else wants to contribute or ask the next item? Anybody else wants to say anything?
Just allow me another remark about this resurrection of species.
Sure.
What about the turtle man, you know? Because probably it was us who killed the Neanderthal, you know? And what if we bring the Neanderthal back to life? The guy was intelligent, definitely, and probably as evolved as Homo sapiens. So if we bring it back to life, what happens next? I mean, it's a lot of ethical issues over here.
Right.
And, I mean, what we have now with immigration, racism is nothing like what we're going to have in the future if we ever resurrect the Neanderthal. Well, we can't do it.
I think, in my point of view, is if we do bring back the Neanderthal, I think we should right away mix genes with him, so we can get some of that intelligence for ourselves. Yeah, go ahead.
Definitely, yeah.
And here's a last question. What is the real meaning of going to heaven as we understand it now through science and technology?
Okay, say again.
What is the real meaning of going to heaven as we understand it now through science and technology?
Okay, great question. So, you know, like people in most religions, they say we are going to heaven, right? But what is the reality of going to heaven in the ways of science and technology? Not in the midst of religion and, you know, sitting in clouds playing a harp or, you know, other nonsense. What is the real meaning of going to heaven in the way that science and technology wants us to do so?
You know, as there is a certain escapism in the concept of heaven, you know, always people thought at heaven like a counter-reality. They imagined heaven in a way to fit their fantasies about escaping from the hell of reality, you know. So the world is hell, and we have to go to heaven, and heaven is exactly what is not, you know, and the opposite of this world. And so I believe that technology will fix this in the future, but with certain dangers, because I think that the breakthrough comes from brain science, as I said. And not only from brain science, from the conjunction between brain science and computer science, you know. And probably heaven in the future will be a simulated reality that acts directly upon your brain, like a matrix, yeah? And simulates a reality that fits your fantasy. So everybody can have his or her own heaven, you know, where the restraints of reality no longer apply. And this is going to be very escapist, kind of escapism. But I believe that some people will like to have a taste of hell, you know, just what you like it, you know, and like sometimes having adventure in a dystopian reality, violence, and blah, 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 you know, like with many people with computer games, you know, violent computer games. But I think that the idea of heaven, which is basically a fantasy, having fantasy, living in this world, to have a fantasy about another world that is perfect, not like this world. So this is going to be provided for by simulating technologies. Simulation not on the screen, but in your brain. So you can experience it, and whatever you get out of this world, you live in a world where beautiful nature and everybody is happy. And I mean, a lot of sci-fi are speculating with these ideas, even of living forever in such an environment or a longer life, whatever. But definitely, this is not theoretically impossible to imagine, scientifically speaking.
Okay.
So we can, because the whole brain is this kind of experience.
Okay, so in a more realistic approach, not a virtual one so much, that you know, has to do a lot of fantasies and imagination, but I do believe, well, we all believe that soon we'll be able to colonize maybe other planets in space, maybe even other solar systems. It's possible. Wouldn't that be a more realistic approach of the idea of going to heaven?
You know what, I mean, the cost, the economic and human cost of terraforming Mars, which is basically probably the only planet in our solar system we can terraform, is so high that we could much easier fix the Earth. You know?
Sure.
I mean, if you, yeah. So probably we are going to, I mean, we are adventurers as a species. We are the sons and grandsons of great adventurers that got out of Africa and explored the world and occupied the world. And so I believe that we have this adventure in ourselves to look for further horizons. And I believe that we are going to explore the whole system, the solar system, just for the sake of adventure, you know, to see new places, to adventure, not different gravity and so on, just to explore, because it's in our genes. But I don't believe this is going to be heaven when, like the astronauts, when they come back to the Earth from the International Space Station, they feel like Earth is heaven, you know, and out there is like hell, you know. It's everything is like that. But I believe, basically, you know what I believe? Human nature is not fit with technology. We have evolved for 2,100 years as a species in nature. And so we have technology. We always make trips to nature, in a natural environment, and we feel so good after coming back from a trip in nature, because this is our natural environment. So I believe probably technology will help us to go back to nature, one way or another, you know, creating parks, having certain trips, when probably in the future we'll be happy to take a vacation from technology and live a very natural life. And whether it's simulated virtual environment or it's real nature, I believe that reality beats simulation always, and we love to have real touch with nature, but maybe through technology probably, you know. So this is the idea of heaven. Basically, for the modern human, for modern man, the idea of heaven is back to nature.
Right.
It's Eden, the Garden of Eden, you know. The beach, you know, and it's always challenging because technology is destroying nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't exclude the idea that at some point, you know, we are just not satisfied with just being here on Earth. Just like you know, the old explorers, they were not satisfied with just living in Europe, so they ventured into the U.S. and or the New World, and they created colonies. I don't exclude the possibility that we might have colonies on Mars at some point. Or some other place in the galaxy, just for the sake, like you said, because we are wanderers, we are explorers, and some of us, we are just not satisfied with what's on Earth anymore. And
yeah, you know, I have some, I know some people that want to go to Mars on a one-way ticket, you know,
yeah.
to live there and die there. It's all frozen and desert, but it's the concept of a new world, you know. You are in a new world. This is just exciting, very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, can we move on to the next thing? Anybody else has a comment or opinion? In the class as well. It doesn't have to be just the contributors. We have a very special opportunity to ask Eddie all kinds of questions and talk to him about any kinds of things. It could be about hospitality or tourism or something that you are really interested in. So,
by the way, talking about tourism to Mars is already a business, you know.
Yeah.
It started as a business.
Exactly.
It's already started.
Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be affordable in about 20, 30 years for most people in developed countries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think someone wants to say something. Go ahead.
I think going to heaven through the science and technology, that has two meanings.
Okay.
One is how high we can go. For example, on Mars or Moon or the
Another planet.
yes, another planet. And the other meaning I think is how science and technologies can progress to the new level, I think, and this is the how we want to go into the heaven, and maybe reach the new height.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you understand that, Eddie? Did you hear? Yeah. So I think one way of going to heaven is how far science and technology can take us, and how far in the universe we may be able to get. But the other way of going to heaven is how good we can become as a human species. Do you know what I mean? How improved we can become, how much better we can treat one another, how we can solve the problems of hunger, of overpopulation, and so forth. So, what is your opinion on this?
This is the real problem. If you talk about human evolution as such, it's very interesting because we have conquered new territories, but always went back and to former tribes in a way or another. I mean, because if you, what do I mean by this? So, if you read the history of America and the human genome, you notice there has been a lot of mingling among populations. So, on one hand, there has been exploring and searching for new territories. But on the other hand, going back and forth and always mingling and changing ideas. And there is a very interesting book by Jared Diamond, Germs and Steel. And he makes a very interesting point. Basically, Eurasia goes from west to east, while Africa and America goes from south to north, you know? And so whenever you go from south to north, you meet a certain jungle to cross, you know? Some big rivers to cross. When you go from east to west, you have an open space. And he says this is why civilization flourished in Eurasia. I mean, whether it's China or India or the Mediterranean basin like Mesopotamia or Egypt or Greece, the civilization flourished in this space because it's open and they always exchange technology and ideas and genes, of course. Now, even Africa, because it was close. Now, today, we can travel very, very easy and communicate very easy all around the globe. And people marry, and there are a lot of international marriages and so on. But what happens if we go to another planet? This is the question. That is the question. And it's very interesting. There is a series on Netflix. It's called The Expanse, and it's
yeah.
like
I heard about it.
you know it, yeah.
So are those two separate people, those in space and those on Earth, are they going to evolve differently now? That's the idea, right?
They hate they hate each other. They are no longer the same community like Mars and the Belters on Earth. They kind of hate each other because they have evolved differently because of gravity, you know.
Well,
and
you
so
know,
on.
can I stop you, Eddie? Let me stop you here. Well, if you go back to when America was being formed as a colony, America and England and the countries that were around with England, they kind of hated each other for some time. But after a while, they got used to the idea that, hey, we kind of evolved differently, or we moved in different directions a little bit, but we don't need to hate each other. So maybe the same thing will happen, don't you think?
I agree, but what I mean is that if we go too far, so as to lose contact with each other, then it's not going to help us, basically, As a species, we have to stay together. And I agree with the young lady who said it's more important to get closer together than to conquer space,
Yes.
Because if we conquer space and we do it like in the expanse, namely we become estranged from each other, it's a defeat. So we must conquer, but on the other hand, we must have always a mean of communication to stay together and to travel back and forth, so that, because it's more important to get closer together as a human species than to conquer other worlds. Definitely conquering other worlds is important, but staying together is what makes us able to conquer and to overcome,
Right. Well, I think it's probably going to be a somewhat of a similar scenario where, back in the days, a voyage from Europe to the new land or to the new world was very, very difficult. But as times improved and technology improved and the voyages became much, much easier and safer, then of course the interaction became greater. And I think it might be the same thing, like, we might have a colony somewhere in space, maybe on Mars, but as technology will improve and our flights or our voyages from here to there would be much easier and much safer, I think then the same sort of situation might happen. We might get closer together and visit each other more often, and who knows, maybe a lot of humans might decide to move to the new colony, and live there and have a new life.
I'm sure. Yeah, you always find people that want to go away, just to do something new, start over, I mean,
Well,
there is no pressure. This will happen.
Well, I look at my situation. My family moved from Europe to the U.S. We moved around the U.S. for quite a bit. Then I moved from the U.S. to Asia. So I have this in my genes. It's in my blood. I can't sit still. Do you know what I mean? So I'll probably be one of the first to go if there's a colony somewhere and I'm still alive at that point in time. I'll probably be one of the first to go. To be honest, I just can't sit still. Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Or ask anything? It can also be from anybody in the audience. It doesn't have to be only from the contributors today. So Phil, please, let's take advantage of asking Eddie or talking to Eddie about anything you like in terms of science, technology. Okay, we have someone there that wants to ask or contribute.
Hi, I want to ask about, although science and technology bring lots of change and benefits for us, but what about if, like in hospitality or tourism industry, if in the future the robots or some technology machine that it can replace the people, the humans, but I think in this industry, this machine or robots cannot completely replace the human, because I think humans live together. So do you think technology or science will destroy human in the future, in maybe long time after the future? You think will destroy us?
Do you think that science and technology, through AI, artificial intelligence, she thinks that, okay, when it comes to tourism and hospitality management, human interaction is still a big part of this business. It's a big part of this business, and we're having a hard time to see how real human interaction, especially in this business, or real human workers, or real human beings that are working in the tourism and hospitality management industry are going to be replaced by technology, and we are just going to interact with AI. And if so, how would this have an impact in the long term? Is it going to affect us in such a way that is going to destroy our humanity, or?
Okay, now let me say something. I do not believe that AI can replace the human world, the human mind. I mean, you are right, in tourism, in hospitality, people would like to interact with human interaction, So they don't want robots, They are very frustrated with robots, And even if these are going to be part of the system, definitely you are going to have receptionists, for instance, hostess that interact with you. But I think that technology is going to change, that it's going to have an impact on the tourism industry in another way. I believe that in the future, tourism as an industry will merge with social media. In the way that basically, whenever you go to a hotel, or to a certain resort, or whenever you make a trip, Mark Zuckerberg is going to be after you, to tell you you have a friend here, or to tell your friends that you are there, and if you have to meet in the bar, okay. So Mark Zuckerberg is going to tell you, hey, one of your friends is here in the same hotel, and I know he's in the bar, and he would like to have a coffee with you because I asked him to, and so how exciting to meet one of your Facebook friends, and so on. And I believe so what the technology is going to do is just going to bring more social media into tourism, and make them work together.
Okay.
Whenever you go, you have a friend. What happens? Wherever you go in the world, you have a Facebook friend.
Yeah.
You communicate with somebody through Twitter, Facebook, whatever. You communicate with somebody in every part of the world, on a forum. So he's going to tell you, okay, Mr. or Mrs. You 3 years ago you had a chat on a forum with a certain person when you agreed, would you like to meet that person because he lives next door? You know, I mean, so this is going, I think, to change a lot in the tourism.
You know, another thing that we all notice is that, particularly myself, is that I have much stronger connection or much closer relationship with virtual friends. You know, like you, for example. You know, we don't see each other much physically, but we interact through the internet and virtually quite a lot. I mean, a lot more than I interact with some of the people that are next to me in Taiwan. So, how do you see this kind of new way of friendship and relationships and interaction, where maybe most of us in the future will more. It's very likely that more and more of us will do the same, where we will have much closer virtual friends than we have physical friends.
Absolutely. Because contrary to what is said, our true ego is on internet, you know. In the real world, we have all kind of checks and inhibitions, you know, restraints. But on internet, we are ourselves. And sometimes you know a person on internet, and you, when you meet that person, you want to address that person with the nickname that person has on internet, and to talk about what you talked on internet, not about some real life issues. I believe this is a fact. This is a fact. Probably talking about tourism in the future, people a digital tribe will decide to meet together, like make a cruise together or something like that. You know, they know each other on a forum. There is a forum of people who love cats, for instance, yeah, and they exchange pictures of their cats, and they talk about their cats and blah blah blah. And one day they decide, let's meet together, you know, and make a trip together. Let's pet each other's cats or something like that. Okay, so I mean, this is what I mean is basically that social media and tourism is going to mingle a lot, you know. And if there is a technology that will transform tourism, is social media. No, not having a robot as a receptionist. This is disgusting, you know. Nobody wants to be greeted by a machine, you know. But social media is kind of bringing people together, and this is going to work a lot in the industry of tourism, of hospitality.
Okay, let's move on to another idea or opinion to discuss. Anybody else wants to bring up something else related to science, technology, internet, tourism, hospitality? I think there's quite a lot of things we can include in this topic. So yeah, please, can we pass the microphone to?
Nowadays, people are competing to make a new and great technology, but there are still a group of tribe still on their decision by not following the technology. So how do you think about it? That should we persuade and engage them to involve with it, or yeah, how do you think about it? Because we really like live in a different era, like they still hunting for their